Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. Guess what, everybody? We're back again.
What's up?
What's happening? I say, what you know good.
What you know, bro?
Dr. Jenny and James in studio today with our podcast.
Howdy.
Today, we're going to be talking about a pretty fun topic, actually. I think it's going to be fun to kind of dive into. And we're talking about the aspects of you.
Put your dive cap on.
We're just snorkeling today. We're just the snorkelers.
Oh, no. We're diving deep.
We're diving deep.
Yeah, baby.
On the aspects of you. And those three aspects are the physical body,
the mental body,
and the energetic body.
Yeah.
And how those intermingle and intertwine into your daily lives to create total and complete harmonious life.
Ooh, ah.
Sounds fun, doesn't it? Which one you want to start with?
Well,
I would choose the mental body
eeny,
first.
meeny, miny, mo.
I think I would choose the mental body first.
Really?
Yeah. That's a pretty deep one, huh? We always say deep. Why do we always refer to everything as deep?
I don't know. Maybe you have
a pretty
some
big subject.
Underlying deep-seated.
Oh, here we go. Wah, 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 wah.
So early in the game, I got a want-want.
You got a want-want today. So, the mental body.
No whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
And stop. Does anybody remember that game? Press your luck.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I used to be addicted to that game. I would come home from school and have me a cheese sandwich and a glass of milk and watch Press Your Luck on TV. Hey, cheese is all we had, baby. That was it. And it was sliced out of a box. So,
who needs the pyramid nutritional meal?
Right.
We got everything we needed from cheese and peanut butter and bread.
That's right. Pretty much. It's what I believe. It worked for me. Hey, if you believe it, it works.
If you believe it, you can achieve it.
Which is a great a great predecessor to the mental body of the aspects of you.
Yeah, as you can tell, we're feeling kind of goofy.
So the mental body is the part of one of the three aspects of the part of the body that helps to operate your daily functions, your mental, emotional health, your physical health, and your energetic health. I would say the mental body is probably the one that really controls all of it, and that all works together simultaneously. And I really can't identify the mental body as what really does, because they really all three work in unison.
So the goal is to get them equal airtime.
Yes.
But that's not what always happens. Agreed. Most of the time, the mental body is trying to drive the ship.
Yes.
And that's where it gets kind of hairy, scary, flubbed up. So the mental body is how we perceive the world around us and the circumstances and events that we experience.
Which means?
Based on our beliefs and patterns, i.e. habits and programs.
Yes.
How are we seeing the world, and through what type of lens are we seeing the world, and how are we defining every given situation? Because then what happens is that will cause certain behaviors, that will cause certain thoughts, that will cause certain actions. And those are tied into the physical body. Because on a scientific level, the mind has what's called neural pathways and chemicals that are released and neural pathways that are built. So there you have it. Okay, on the mental body.
On the mental body, when I guess to make sure I understand correctly,
That was as short of a version I could give.
That was a pretty short version. I wasn't even expecting. That's unusual for you. I was expecting you to keep right on going.
I was started to, and I thought, let's digest that for a second.
And so the mental body is created and operates based off beliefs and habits. And so those beliefs affect our daily lives, and those habits affect our daily lives and how we operate. For example, what's a good example? Oh, maybe you have a hard time making friends.
Okay.
Because you believe you can't make friends. I actually heard this from somebody the other day. I have a hard time making friends. One of our employees said that to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why do you have a hard time making friends? He said, I don't know. My dad always told me I would. Oh.
Bing, 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 bing. Johnny, tell him what he wants.
He said his dad used to always say, if you act like that, you're not going to have, your friends will hate you. Or something like that, he said. And I was like, well, if you believe that, then you will make it come true.
That's right. Because the belief system itself is an all-encompassing mechanism that is always going to make itself true.
That is correct.
Always.
It always
because that's what it's meant to do.
It's like,
even if that belief is not beneficial anymore, even if it's mucking up your reality, that belief system will make itself true.
And it makes itself true by creating different things in your reality based off those beliefs. Like, like for example, this one employee, his dad always told him if he continued to act weird, then he wouldn't have any friends. And he believes that, of course, because it's his dad, it's his authority figure. And sure enough, here he is. He's quiet, refined, and really inner stifled. He's stifled, and he is a little weird.
And he doesn't have any friends.
And he doesn't have any friends. That's right. And so he has made that true, and it creates depression. And I want you to talk about the chemical reactions that does in the body, because you say it very well.
On that particular example?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, as a human species, one of our lower level requirements is socialization. We want to be around people. We want to be around other people. I know there's people out there say, you're crazy. I don't want to be around nobody. They're all idiots. But there is scientific data that shows studies that infants and children alike who were segregated out and had no touch, no socialization, no human interaction, had what's called failure to thrive, and they ended up not surviving.
Correct.
In these studies way back in the day, where you don't get in trouble for that kind of crap.
Yeah.
we don't take them quite to that point. So what happens is it taps in on.
Remember, we're talking about the chemical reactions.
I know.
Okay.
And we got to go deep for a second, because you got to understand. Okay, so on an atomic level, we are energy. Energy is atoms that clump together and make molecules that clump together and make cells. Atoms are energy.
They're social.
Atoms have a consciousness at their level of being, which means they autonomously function at a certain conscious level. They'll go around bebopping, doing what they do. They don't have a mommy and daddy telling them do this, do that, or a boss or anybody. They just do their own thing because that's what's natural and that's what their energy tells them to do. When we don't get in the way, our entire body will function that way. So then you have these atoms that create molecules. So then the molecule group comes together, and that group of atoms has a collective consciousness that will then go around and do what it's supposed to do. Those molecules then clump together and make cells. I'm giving you a very, very brief version of it.
It's not too brief.
And the cells, that clump of energy called a cell, collectively has an energetic consciousness, and it will do what it is designed and energetically programmed to do, whether it be the cell that's going to become the liver, or that regenerates the parts of the liver or the heart, or etc.
Cells are what make up the organs, and everything
of the body,
right?
The physical body, right?
I just wanted to make sure everybody understood what you were saying there. But what I heard in that was social,
Yeah.
social, because the atoms got to have other atoms,
Right.
and the nuclei have to have other nuclei, and they grow together in groups, and they have to be socialized
Right.
in their own little way.
That's right.
And you know,
So if you're feeding to yourself that you are socially unacceptable in some form of sentence, I'm too weird to have friends, you are programming your energy, your cellular structure to take on that vibrational frequency. So you are changing the frequency and the vibrato of those cells in that clump.
understood.
They will vibrate at a different frequency, which then will cause mutations of some sort.
Understood.
Either they won't grow healthy cells so that when they're regenerating the liver, for example, the cell will not be a perfectly round little cell with all of its mitochondria and all of its components to do its job. It'll end up in a weird shape, not fitting into the whole big puzzle, and do some weird overgrowth called a tumor, just to give you an example.
Well, I think what you're describing very well is almost a prime example of that negative feedback that kids that you back in our day,
not just kids but adults.
Well, I'm just using it for an example. If you tell a kid enough that he's going to be weird, like the one I was talking about earlier,
yeah,
then he is going to A, be socially awkward, B, like it causes depression, which other chemical reactions,
right?
And he may get overweight, obese.
Depression is just a lower vibrational frequency.
Correct. And
so then what happens is the depression changes the frequency of even the chemical part of it. You have a whole chemical system and a whole hormonal system. So when your vibration is low and you're feeling depressed, the oxytocin, for example, that gives you kind of that high, happy feeling will not be secreted, and more serotonin or, some of those other chemicals, not to bore you with all the chemistry, more of those will be secreted because they have that frequency. They have that vibration.
Right.
Just to skim the top.
It's kind of funny to tie in the scientific side of that. Is one of the things they use to check for cancer is serotonin levels and testosterone levels, and what's the female one? Estrogen levels in men.
It's a little bit easier to explain if we talk about like the fight or flight.
Yeah.
So if you talk about the fight or flight mechanism, where it was designed back in caveman days to keep you protected when the lions and tigers and bears started chasing you, what it does is it causes the adrenals, which is a gland that lives on the kidney, to excrete adrenaline and cortisol. And those things do two things. They send all the blood to the vital organs, and the adrenaline gives you the extra power to run away from the danger.
Yeah, danger,
life surviving situations.
Yeah.
But as we evolved and we became what we are now, we forgot to redefine what lions and tigers and bears are. And so anytime we go into a stressful, what we view as a stressful situation, by way of our own definition, getting on this microphone could be stressful to some people, and it puts them, boom, right into fight or flight. Then what happens is their body will start secreting the cortisol and the adrenaline, but you don't get up and you don't run. So you're not pumping that stuff through and getting it metabolized out. You just carry it. And eventually what happens is too much of that builds up in your system. It becomes toxic and actually has a reverse effect. Like cortisol can cause weight gain. It can cause you not to metabolize, especially things like insulin correctly. It also, the adrenals are glands that secrete estrogen for men and testosterone for females, because our opposite sex organs don't necessarily have enough of that secretion to support that. So if it's constantly secreting the cortisol, then it doesn't ever get a chance to secrete the estrogen, or if you're a man, testosterone. Nope, sorry, reverse that.
Yeah.
men estrogen, females testosterone, then those levels get out of balance.
Understood.
That's where, for example, females who have chin hair, their testosterone
levels
is
are up.
out of whack, and little signs like that by the body. The body's trying to say, hey, something's out of whack.
Man, we went in a rabbit hole.
I'm telling you, it's deep, man. Put your rubber boots on.
And so what I wanted to go back to the social interaction part of this is I just read a study the other day because you mentioned children
Yeah.
dying from antisocial disorder.
Yeah.
And the study that came out that I read was on seniors,
Yeah.
on how they need 8.5 hours a day of social interaction just to combat dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And the reason why we have seen such an uptick of dementia and Alzheimer's diagnosis in the elderly is because of they feel like it was the war, the Vietnam War, and all that during that time where they didn't socialize. Nobody went out and did anything. And then the pandemics along the way,
Yeah.
it scared them into not being social creatures.
Right.
And in turn, we're getting the result of dementia and Alzheimer's diagnoses.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And so the mental body controls a lot of that chemical reactions of the three aspects of yourself.
It does. It has definitely plays a part in all of that. It does, for sure.
Because what I know, what you just said, is the mental side of that is when you start producing those chemicals such as adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
And that affects the body, the physical body.
Yeah.
And so, which in turn makes the physical body use energy.
Well, yeah, but then you can get trapped in a loop almost, because then whenever your physical body starts to not feel good, if you're tired all the time or you have this constant nagging headache, then mentally you get wore down and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just so wore out from this. And that can just take you farther into those places of, this is awful. I can't do this anymore. Or, get depressed about it. I can't go out and do things like I used to, or especially like you said in the elderly, one of the big things with them is like the cortisol. It has effects on the joints and stuff. It actually will dry them out, because when you're in a fight or flight, which is stress, it takes all of the water and it takes blood. It shunts it from the tiny little things
Crevices.
Right.
Little cracks and crevices.
The joints and things like that are not deemed life-saving. And it sucks all that out so that it can send it to the vital organs. Mm-hmm. That in turn causes the arthritis joint pain that causes immobility. And then it's just like this loop. They get depressed because they can't walk anymore, or they can't be as active as they used to be. And if you have a belief that inactivity causes weight gain, then here we go. We're going to add weight to that, in addition to the cortisol helping you add weight. Then you get overweight, and then your joints hurt even more, and then you feel even more depressed. And it's just like this loop if you don't get yourself out of it.
And how do you get yourself out of it?
One shovelful at a time, man.
The belief systems. You can actually take one of the three aspects of the body in any one of those and fix one of those at a time, and it's going to improve.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to,
Like,
especially when you're new and you're learning all of this, you have to you can't do it all at once. You can't. And so you have to take the loudest, the squeaky wheel. You've got to begin somewhere, changing habits, changing patterns, changing your daily personal hygiene routine.
Yes.
And so we've talked about kind of the physical body and how that works and how the mind can affect that.
Yeah, so you've talked about the mental and the physical. You kind of tied that all together right there.
Yeah.
And that's where I was going with that, is what can fix that. Well, let me back up.
So before we go into the fix, we got to talk about the third energy body, because it gets left out a lot. So before we go to fixes, we gotta talk about the energy body.
That's where I was going.
Energy body can be dated back to over 5,000 years ago in Chinese medicine.
Okay.
With chakras, with the meridians, And as we've talked about before in other podcasts, scientists know that the body has energy because we do EKGs. We do energy pictures of the heart and the brain. But they didn't ever really take it much farther than that until, the last few years and really began to study that. But the Chinese medicine, they've been in tune with that energy body for thousands and thousands of years. They call it the chi energy. And so they teach their heritage and their lineage, how important that is. I feel like in this part of the world, we don't talk as freely about the weird shit.
What do you mean?
I just mean as a whole, as a collective. You don't have, it's more prevalent now.
Are you trying to say where we live is not Sedona, California?
No, I just mean as the United States, as a collective, back years ago.
Okay. I follow you now.
In the 50s and 60s, it was the hippies that knew about energy, and everybody looked at them like they were cuckoo.
Crazy.
Bunch of cuckoo birds that were high.
Well, they were kind of cuckoo, and they were high a lot.
But they were happy because they worked with their energies. I mean, if you take it back to the Native Americans, you're Cherokee.
Uh-huh.
That was a common thing that you did, was work with the energy. It got lost is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, the other cultures do think about and talk about and participate in the rituals of energy work for thousands of years, when the Americans have not, aka the colonizers that come from England into the United States that overran the Native Americans. And the Native Americans, just like the Aztecs, the Egyptians, the Romans, they all practiced energy work. And the most of all, the Buddhists, they all had energy rituals. They all had meditation. They all did their own little rituals within working with energy along the way for thousands of years before us intelligent people here
absolutely
practiced it.
I mean, I feel like that's what the whole big design of the pyramids was for, is a place to go and meditate in that space that had the vortex of energies going. And you walk in and take kind of like an energy bath in a meditative state. That's why I think they were built the way they were built.
I think it was a 3-point landing spot for a big UFO.
Maybe. Where they balance on the tip of it.
They just all it's like this landing on it shuts down. And it shuts down on all top of it. It could just be a little.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Could be. Yeah.
For all the UFOers.
But you're right. The energy body for thousands of years has been practiced in other cultures. And here in the United States, it's just now. I just read a study. We talk about this on one of the podcasts in Simplified Energy, is that one of the medical studies have learned to, you said you've been doing EKGs, which is an energy read of the heart. And now they have learned how to adjust an MRI machine to see the actually physical aura of the human body, which they're now calling the biofield.
The biofield.
So they can't even call it energy because they're afraid to admit it, that they've been wrong for thousands of years.
Right. Exactly.
And so they got to make up a fancy name and act like it just got discovered.
Dun, dun, dun.
And, the metaphysicians of the world push the scientists of the world to really do better.
Oh, yes, we do.
But anyway, so back to the energy body, how it affects the other two bodies of the body, which is the mental and physical body. How does that affect the physical body? So the energy body, in my opinion, when the mental body creates chemical dumps and tells the physical body to do certain things with its chemicals, the energy body is what helps create those pathways and also react to the chemical dump in the physical body.
I mean, it can, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It acts on its own, in a sense.
Yeah.
But then it acts in conjunction with all the other two bodies.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so energy body. Okay, so you have chakras. Yeah. They're like the energy pools.
That's where
there's 7 of them.
Wet.
I'm sorry, what?
That's where the energy is wet. It's an energy pool.
No, it's like a little cup that holds the energy.
It's a container?
And it's like a container.
Oh.
And it holds the energy, and it needs to be moving so it doesn't get stagnant. But traumas and such can cause it to slow down or even go still, get stagnant. It can happen. So
What did you say? Go what? Still?
Go stagnant.
Go
It can get
go-
still and go
oh.
stagnant.
Oh, it sounded like you said ghost stool. I was going to say, what is that? I've never heard that word.
It's a ghost post office.
Okay, we're going ghost stool today.
That's where you go from one end of the ocean to the other.
Yeah.
But you're non-physical.
Non-physical, coast to coast. That's coastal.
You're going to go ghostal.
So the energy body is a pull. The chakra is a pull, and it's basically an abundant amount of energy, and it's supposed to turn and not be still.
That's right.
Okay, it's supposed to rotate and turn and move.
Yes.
Okay, now
and
go
it
ahead.
will spill energy up and down, up and down. Here we go.
Sloshing around everywhere.
The meridians are like the superhighway. It's like the loop in the turnpikes.
The mix master.
The mix master of the energy flow
Okay.
throughout the rest of the body.
So there's lots of bifurcations in there.
There are a lot of bifurcations. Does anybody know what that means? Somebody look it up. So, and energy, so each meridian kind of governs a specific organ or organs and feeds it the energy that it needs on an energetic level.
Don't all of them do multiple organs?
They don't all do multiple organs.
Oh.
The organ itself does multiple things. And when it has enough energy, it can do the multiple jobs that it has to do. But if it's low on energy, it's going to sacrifice some of the jobs, like the spleen. If the spleen doesn't have enough energy and it's sluggish, it works with the immune system. It works with detoxifying the blood. It works with metabolizing, and it helps pancreas work with the sugars. So if it doesn't have enough energy and it's feeling sluggish and it's not working at 100%, you may see that you don't metabolize the food properly, which will be evidence of weight gain.
Okay.
It also works with the immune system. And so you may not recover from illness as fast as you would like to. It may take you 2 weeks to get over a cold instead of 1.
And what meridian controls that?
That's the spleen meridian. It's actually called the spleen meridian.
You see how I brought you back there? You started to go into the
You
physical
reeled me
body.
back in.
Yeah, you were starting to go into the physical body again.
No, I was just giving examples.
Okay, so which meridian controls the spleen?
It's the spleen meridian.
Spleen? And where is that located?
The spleen or the meridian?
The meridian. We're talking about the energy body now. See, she tried to go back down the physical body again. I have to, she was a nurse for 24 years, and so I've got to keep her off that line a little bit.
No.
I'm playing. And so the spleen meridian starts where?
It starts on the left-hand side of the big toe. And you take your hand and you come up the top of the foot to the inside of the leg, follow inside of the leg up to your waist.
Okay.
And you go into the growing, out to the waist. You go from the waist up
To the armpit.
up to the armpit, and then back down to the bottom of the rib cage.
Okay. So if you were going to write that on a chart, how would you explain that? You could have just said it that way. The anterior, posterior side of the gluteus.
Nobody knows what
gluteus
those
maximus,
words are, for
up
Pete's
to
sake.
the professional armpit hair and back down to the rib
Absolutely
cage.
not.
No, you can't say
You got to
that
do layman's terms.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
And so that spleen meridian, that's where it goes. But so
each meridian has a path,
yes,
and it has a certain direction that its energy flows.
I think we've totally lost
down,
our subject
up,
here
down.
today. Because we're talking about the three aspects and how they intermingle.
Well, yeah, we're given a brief description of each body, and right now we're talking about the energy body.
And how many meridians of the energy body are there?
There's 14 major meridians,
And how many chakras?
and there's 7 chakras.
I thought there was 8.
No, that's 6 toes, sir.
No, they said that there's supposed to be They've discovered the crown chakra,
There is talk that there's an eighth one.
the angel chakra or something. That's where, and here's the crazy part about it is I've been seeing it. They started talking about that chakra, and I've been seeing that chakra on people. It's not a chakra to me, though. It looks like a crown, but I only see it on like mothers and fathers. And majority of the time it's only on mothers.
Interesting.
But anyway, go ahead. So there's 14 meridians, 7 chakras.
Major meridians. There's little ones.
There's little tiny meridians, so that's like a mini mixed master.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have pressure points along the way, little powerhouses of energy.
And these meridians, if I understand correctly, by your teachings and my studies, is these little mini meridians, and the major meridians kind of mimic or mock Chinese, not mock's not a good word. They mimic the Chinese medicine acupressure spots.
Absolutely. They don't mock, they are.
Yeah, it's the same as the location.
Yes.
So basically,
it's basically excerpts from Chinese medicine.
Okay.
Knowledge and books.
Okay, because I was the one I was looking at had like 100 and something little areas.
Yeah. Well, so each meridian, so like the kidney meridian has 27 points on it.
Wow.
That are pressure point or energy holding points where you can zap it and get a boost of energy, or places where energy can get stagnant, hung up from not working with your energy or not knowing about it. It can jam up in those places.
Okay.
And the weird thing about it, to bring the physical body in, is that the lymphatic system, those lymph nodes, are located very close to some of those points.
Okay.
And so it's actually the Chinese meridians that will do bursts of energy to help the actual lymphatic system pump and flow and help get rid of the garbage of the body, because the lymphatic system doesn't have a heart necessarily or any kind of motor that pumps it around. It moves around based on our movement and muscle contraction and the energies of the meridians.
Okay. And so that's actually a great way to tie everything up, because you just said it right. The lymphatic system, it moves around based off your movement. And so if you have a belief that you are scared of your daddy, and your daddy comes home and you just sit in your room and cry and sit in one spot and hide, when your physical body is now saying to run because you've got flight or fright going, is creating these chemicals, and you don't get up and move and you don't run, then the result is I don't feel well because now I'm not moving and my lymphatic system is not pumping.
Well, it's not pumping as efficiently as it could, for sure.
So to recap on what you said, the mental body dumps the hormones and the chemicals into the body that make the physical body want to do things when you have the fight or flight mechanism activated. And when you don't react to that because you are sitting in one location, why are you squinting?
Because the middle body's not the one that dumps the chemicals.
Well, no, it tells the body to dump the chemicals.
That's right.
Okay. So then when, the example I said is, we got the kid comes home, dad comes home, the kid's scared of his dad. He's got flight or fright kick in. He sits in his bedroom and hides. When the little kid's sitting in his room and waiting on his dad, and he's not responding to that flight or fight response, and now he has these chemicals running through his body, he's not allowing the body to move like it wants to because these chemicals are being dumped. And therefore, you're not pumping your lymphatic system, which in turn can cause physical illness. Correct?
Well, yeah, because the lymphatic system, for example, that's within the physical body is basically the trash man.
Yep, it takes the trash out.
It takes all the trash out. And so if you've got all that garbage that your body doesn't need, it's deemed not usable or not reusable, sitting around in your lymph nodes, eventually they get backed up, they get clogged up. You become kind of just like that fish aquarium that has all the scum floating around. and you're just kind of full of toxins, and that will start to have negative effects on the physical body, which then in turn makes you not feel good. Then your mental body says, oh God, here we go again. I don't feel good today. It's hard to be in a really good mood when you don't feel good. It really is.
Yeah, I agree.
And then that in turn will affect your energy.
And
you
your
can
mental
see it in the
status.
aura.
Yeah, I do. I see it all.
You watch that kind of stuff in the aura, and it affects the energy.
Yes, I do see it a lot in people. And
Not only that, but whenever your energy is off and you go to be around other people, you can affect their energy.
Yep, it does spread.
And you've seen that when you look
Yeah.
at people's aura.
It's like little bugs jumping off saying, wee, wee.
Oh my God, no. Not the bugs
everybody's
jumping
going
off.
to have that imagine in their mind now. Every time they walk by somebody, their energy's jumping off on them.
Don't get your energy bugs on me.
That's where cooties come from.
You got to do the little circle and the X on your arm to keep you protected from the cooties.
Well, I mean, where do you think it comes from?
I don't know. I really never thought about it.
Cootie, there's no bug called a cootie.
How do we know?
I mean,
Have we researched it?
I don't,
Somebody looked that up.
there's no bug that I know of called a cootie.
It would be cool though if
Cootie.
it would be kind of cute if it was a bug called the cootie.
Yeah, but if not, it could just be little energetic BBs jumping off of each other, off of you onto somebody else. But anyway,
True.
so back to the topic. So we're covering the three aspects of you today. You got the mental body, you got the physical body, and you got the energetic body. And the goal in a spiritually awakened person is to identify each one of the aspects of these, figure out the beliefs and how they operate in each one, and how to make them flow in unison that creates, you said it this morning, harmony and happiness and fulfillment. Because when you feel good, when all three of these aspects are operating properly and functioning in the right way, then you feel good inside, everything feels better, and it just continuously to reciprocates itself because you are creating the right chemicals, you're doing the right things, you're clearing the right beliefs, you're having physical activity, you're doing whatever that is to keep it all working in unison. And I think one of the major things that is everybody forgets to do is they forget to stop and look at their belief systems.
I think the major thing is they forget to stop and have a hygiene routine for each of the bodies.
Yeah, or they just they just
physical,
don't know to do one. That may
be the case. They just don't even know about it. But now we begin to put the awareness out there.
That's right.
With your physical body, you get up, you take a shower, you brush your teeth, you maybe shave, put clothes on, and out the door you go to start your day.
Yep.
And the mental body, those who come into the awakening process, or even some that don't, are in the positive affirmation. That may be that you look in the mirror while you're brushing your teeth saying, I am beautiful, I am a good person. Most people have, even if they're not aware of it, they have some sort of mental hygiene that they do. But if you don't, now's time to have one.
Before I became aware, I used to always start my day off thinking about what I was going to do at work.
Yeah.
And it's completely an unhealthy habit.
Not necessarily. If you're preparing yourself by making your to-do list, it's a way of keeping yourself on task and organized so that you feel like you're in control so you don't go into that place of stress.
Well, for me, it was an unhealthy habit.
Okay.
It's because
that's their routine.
Back then work consumed me a lot. And so it was a routine of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I got this at 9, I got this at 10, I got this, I would go through my entire day instead of actually spending that little 30 minutes of time just being me.
Well, I think we just have to remember that everybody's routines look different. And if that mental task list keeps that person in a place of calm peacefulness, having a to-do list so that they know exactly what they're going to do and plan that out, and that keeps them out of that stress place, then that works for them. That's their technique. They have to be given space to let that be the thing that does it for them. They may not be a big meditator.
And so we have now identified the three aspects of the body and the three aspects of a human.
Yeah.
And we have went through and kind of identified each one of those. You think we've covered them well?
I mean, yeah, the last thing I was going to say is it's just as important to have a daily energy routine.
Mm-hmm.
Take an energy shower, take an energy bath, work with your energies, do those things. We have ways that you can access information on very, very simple things that you can do physically with your hands to work with those meridians and get energy working in the right directions.
Understood. And so the daily regimen part of that, I think that we will cover on another podcast, and we'll go through each one of them individually and kind of give everybody a little daily routine. What do you think? You want to, because
I mean, maybe it's we can come to a close on this, but when you're talking about working with the meridians and doing that, it's hard to just verbally describe what you're supposed to do with your hands. That's a challenge.
I agree,
but I can definitely try.
Okay.
And another podcast.
Yeah, or I guess we can maybe make it into a video podcast.
Ooh,
Anyway, thank you all for listening today, covering the three aspects of you. We appreciate y'all. Thank you for listening. And tune in and keep tuning in. Like, follow, subscribe. And don't forget to hit that little bell so you get the notifications when we upload a new one.
Love ya.
Thanks a lot for listening.